Now let's go forward in time to what happened next for you after you'd maybe completed the next step of treatment. What was the next hurdle? What was the next hurdle that you had to face?
After radiotherapy and the Herceptin, the radiotherapy was not, as I said before, was not painful. It was lonely experience. It was scary experience being there with all these huge machines around you. There wasn't a lot of dialogue about what to expect in radiotherapy, and the next hurdle I'd got was having to go physically back into the chemo suite and have cannulations again, in fact more than I had for chemo. And I'd got to the point where really my fear was so great I couldn't walk into the building. And it didn't matter what anybody said or anybody did. The only medical support I got at that time was that the head of the chemo nurse team had offered to come down to see me and talk to me about cannulation. But the downside of that was she told me in no uncertain terms that I might have to have a Hickman's line in my chest, which again, mentally, emotionally, I didn't feel that I, as an individual, would be able to cope with, because it was a constant reminder in the mirror when you took your clothes off or whatever, or even it's quite a visual thing to keep looking at to reinforce the fact you were on a drug for cancer. Whereas mentally, emotionally, you're trying to move away from that cancer thing. You don't want a constant reminder that you're undergoing the treatment necessarily. You know you have to have it, you know it's there and it has to be dealt with, but you don't want to have it in your face. And the other thing she told me was, she confirmed that unfortunately my vein system in my arm that I'd had the chemo in was absolutely shot, and that would probably be an option. At that point, I think I was so terrified and so frightened, I completely broke down. And I don't think I would have even been able to go on the next stage of the treatment had I not then, thankfully, been referred to the psycho-oncology department. And I was able to start in a non-medical environment, offload and speak to somebody about my fears about the cancer, my fears about the treatment, my fears about the future, and to get some medication which would calm me and help me stop having like panic attacks, because I was at that time not able to put my foot through the door without having some sort of reaction.
So you had the support and you had the medication options. Now, let me just imagine for a second that you were in a different environment where you had those same fears and worries, but there wasn't a service that you could be referred to. Sitting here now, is there any way you could have still got help, or managed to resolve some of those very real worries at the time? If the referral option wasn't there, I'm just trying to think for other patients, in different settings. They might not have that option. But you've been through it. You've seen, both sides, as it were.
Yes, I think to me, I definitely wouldn't have been able to successfully get through the cancer treatment, the next stage of the treatment, which was the Herceptin, drips and cannulation that went with it, unless I'd have had the support of the psycho-oncology team. I was in constant contact anyway with my GP, who was very understanding, and I was also in contact, of course, with my oncologist. But at the end of the day, there was only the psychological support that comes from the psycho-oncology team, to be able to express your fears without, being told, well, you've got to have it, it's an essential part of the treatment. That was a medical essential part of the treatment, but psychologically and emotionally I wouldn't have been able to have physically that essential third stage of my treatment had I not had the emotional and psychological support that thankfully I got. And I would, really feel that is essential to the treatment for not just me, but anybody else that would need it. It was a fantastic service that was provided for me and others.